is figuring out what you value and figuring out how to now get that message across to potential customers and let them know what you value so that they can value and get the people to value the same things. All lasting business is really built on friendship. I have friends of mine who are manufacturers of the toys that we sell. And I was doing the presentation, I had a couple in there, and they were saying, well, but Phil, we don't sell to individuals, we sell to businesses. I said, no, you don't. Stop for a second, think about it. Who do you sell to? You sell to the buyer at that business. And I buy way more, I am a buyer for my business, and I buy way more from the companies who share my values. I buy way more from the salesperson who shares my values. Way more. Everything is done on an individual basis, regardless of whether you are a company selling to another company. It's still you selling to that person over there. It's still a personal relationship. And the smartest vendors get that. How many of you have ever heard of the company Melissa and Doug? It's a toy company. They make a lot of different stuff. They started out just making wooden puzzles and selling them out of their basement. Melissa and Doug are real people. I know them quite well. They had a 900 square foot house, and they were selling stuff out of their basement and out of their trunk. And they were going around to trade shows, and they were driving all over the country, just trying to get their foot in the door. They now have a $370, $380 million company, and they have a 30,000 square foot mansion in Connecticut. Yeah, a lot of people go, wow, you know, and some people think it's a little excessive, but man, when you grew up with nothing, you had a 900 square foot house, and you have the ability to do that, that's the American dream right there. I have no problem with that at all. And the reason I have no problem with that is that Melissa and Doug are two of the nicest people I have ever met on the planet. And they share my values, and that's why I buy from them all the time. But Duffy, their sales rep, is actually who I interact with, and Duffy and I, man, we are like two peas in a pod, and that helps. Every transaction is done on an individual level between you and somebody else. So you have to know your values. When you know your values, you get there. That's the first order of business. Everything else follows. Don't get the foundation right, nothing else is going to work. This is St. Mary's, Georgia. A few years ago, my parents were down in Amelia Island, Florida, which is in the northernmost part of the Atlantic, right by the Georgia border. Right between us is the St. Mary's River and Cumberland Island. And St. Mary's is a town that was founded by pirates. Seriously, this is a city where the church bell, when it rang, was a signal that the Navy was coming in, hide your loot. Every church had a basement. And that basement was not for the church's use, it was for the pirates' use to hide the booty. That's what they did. When the bells rang at the church, it was not a signal that the service was about to start. It was, be prepared, we're about to be invaded. Very cool town. There was a ferry that ran from Amelia Island over to St. Mary's so we could take a tour. And what was really interesting is somebody in the city got together with everybody else in the city and they said, hey guys, we're going to do this. We're going to embrace who we really are. We're going to embrace our heritage. We're going to embrace the kind of values that started the city. Now, a lot of people think pirates are just really bad people. No, not necessarily. There's a code among them. There is some honor and some ethics to that. At the same time, they understood who they were, they understood their history and their background. And when they started bringing these tours in to their town, they made sure that everybody knew it. And when I got off the ferry, I had this little purple bracelet around my wrist that said I was part of that group. Everybody was looking for it. Every shop, every store, every person I ran into, when they saw that purple bracelet, knew visitor, tourist, give them the full treatment. They made every single thing about their business, about their city, match their values, and made for an experience that was unlike any I'd ever had. I was not prepared for some of the fun things that happened to us. I was not prepared for the way they bent over backwards to show us really cool and neat things, to show us those storages, to show us the original bell, to show us the 2 oak trees that were the middle of their town where the pirates would have their meetings and discuss what they were going to do next. It was really amazing how when a group or a business, whether it's a city, a company, when it comes together and they make sure that every part of their business shows their values, what a difference it makes. So when you're led by your values, it doesn't hurt your business. It helps it to grow. It helps it to grow in ways that it cannot reach otherwise. The biggest businesses in our country, they all know that. Walmart, when they got away from selling cheap stuff, they lost their way and their business declined. When they got back to selling cheap stuff, knowing exactly who they were, their business grew. Apple, as long as they continue to make products you love, they're going to keep growing. Their business is going to keep going. Disney, they're never going to go away. They've got it. They understand it. They know exactly who they are and what they're trying to be. And they make sure that every single element of the business screams it as loud as they possibly can. And that's what we try to do at Toy House. Heck, there's even FedEx. Fill in the blank. When it absolutely positively has to be there. Anybody know what that is? How about my older group? Overnight?
Overnight, yep.
Absolutely positively has to be there overnight. That was their slogan for many, many years. And as long as that was their slogan, and their business grew. I'm not surprised that you guys couldn't figure that out because they haven't used that slogan in years. And guess what's happened to their business? It's going back down. UPS is pushing into that. Post office is pushing into that. They grew their business on overnight delivery. And when they used that and knew exactly who they were, this is what their business did. When they stopped, this is what their business did since. So, my challenge to you is I'm going to give you a little worksheet that's going to help you work through what your values are going to be. You need to know that. You need to know, as a company, what values you're going to have if you want to reach the next level, if you want to know who your customers are, because those are the people you're going to want to attract. See, when you know who your customers are, they're lined up outside the door, waiting to come in. They're filling up your store aisles. They're shopping. They're buying. This is what it's about. Some of you may have heard this story. The professor stood up in front of a college class and he took a big jar out, big mayonnaise jar. And he held it up in front of the class and he took a bunch of golf balls, started sticking golf balls in the jar, and he continued doing it until the jar was full, could not cram another golf ball in. He said, "How many of you believe this jar is full?" Everybody put their hands up. He says, "Okay." He grabbed another bag, had marbles in it. He started dumping marbles into it. The marbles would fall in, and they'd fall in between all the different golf balls and all the spaces. They filled up all the spaces he did, so the marbles were right up at the top of the jar. He says, "Okay, now how many do you think it's full?" And they're like, "Got it. Okay, cool. All right, now it's full. All right." Then he pulled out a bag of sand. And he started pouring the sand in there. He continued to pour it and pour it and pour it until now the sand was all the way up to the top. He says, "Okay, now how many do you think this is full?" And of course, everybody's like, "All right, I get the point, I get the point." But then he reached down and he grabbed his cup of coffee. And he poured it in, the entire cup. He says, "And I want to tell you something about this." He says, "This jar represents life. The golf balls, what do they represent? Those are the important things, the key things in your life. It might be family, it might be friends, the most important things in your life." He says, "Here's the interesting thing. If you don't fill your life with those things first, if you put the marbles in, how many golf balls are going in? None. If you fill it up with marbles, you can't get any golf balls in. So you got to fill up your life with the most important things first." He says the marbles, they represent all the other stuff you have to do. You got to go to school, you got to get a job, you got to work, you got to earn money, those kinds of things. Yeah, we understand that. Those are the necessities of life. You got to do those things. But make sure you fill your values first, then put the marbles in. He says the sand, what's that? He says that's everything else. It's everything else. That's all the other fun stuff that you do. The things that you do in your free time, your hobbies, your other interests, all those things. Going to the movies, going shopping with your friends, whatever it might be, that's the sand. He says, you do that next. Somebody said, well, what's the cup of coffee for? He says, just to show you that no matter how busy your life gets, there's always time to have a cup of coffee with a friend. Funny thing is, the same thing works with business. What are the golf balls? Core values. The golf balls are your core values. What is your business about? You have to make sure that that's taken care of first. When you do that, then you can do all the business necessities. That's what the models are. That's the buying and the selling. That's the going out and finding new customers. That's the fulfilling the orders, placing getting all the POs done and the invoices done and everything else. That's the advertising and marketing. And then the sand is everything else. The stuff that makes your business fun. The goofing off with your coworkers. The going laughing all your way to the bank. All those things. And don't forget, there's still time to have a cup of coffee. The Toy House in 1950. Year after the store had opened, that's what it looked like. It was originally in a house. That's where it got its name. My grandparents bought this house in 1949, and May of that year opened up. They had downstairs was all selling, the upstairs was all office, the basement was all storage. My grandfather understood the first order of business. He understood it very, very well. That's a picture of him inside the store. Believe it or not, this little thing right here is our layaway cards. We still offer layaway. We still use that exact same box that was used back in 1949. My grandfather had 3 words he always said. 3 words. Beat it into our heads growing up. Plan for success. In fact, to this day, he says he only screwed up one thing in the creating of the toy house, and that was when we built the current building. It should have been 12 feet further back, or further north on the property, because we could have gotten about 18 more parking spaces in if he'd done that. It's the only thing you can say he did wrong. But he understood the core values even without having to put them together. He knew what it's all about. Having fun? Yeah. He would say, come in for a looking trip. Come in for a looking trip. Come in and don't buy, just look. I have an advertisement that he ran that said that. We don't want you to buy. We want you to look. We want you to try things out. If it breaks, we don't want to carry that. We only carry quality stuff. The best toys are interactive toys. He knew about having fun. He wanted you to play with the toys. We still do. Helpful? Oh yeah, free gift wrapping, free layaway, delivery, assembly, repair. We do all these different services. Why? So we can be helpful. I have personally climbed into the back seat of at least 2,000 cars to install a car seat. In fact, I installed the car seat you were in when you were a kid. I know that. I've known his parents, and Michael probably did yours too. I would be willing to guess. We do those things to be helpful. He understood that. Educational, he was the guy that did all the first classes on toy shopping. When I go out and talk to mothers groups right now about toys and how to buy toys, the stuff I'm teaching is the exact same stuff my grandfather taught in the 50s. It hasn't changed. The friend of the nozzle staff, all the toys to teach, yes, educational. And nostalgia, Christmas, birthdays, and new babies. We were doing that from day one, and that's why we've been so successful. In 1957, they were featured in Good Housekeeping magazine as an up-and-coming business. In about 1960, 61, that picture there, we'd already expanded on the house. You can still see the house sticking on top of the building. New storefront. Even by 67, though, that wasn't big enough. And that's when my sister, on May 11th, 1967, broke ground for the current building with the best phrase ever. It was a rainy day, there's my grandfather leaning over it, and it said, but Grandpa, Mom won't like it if we play in the mud. She was 2.5 years old. She had no clue what she was doing, other than playing with a toy show in the dirt on a rainy day. There's the rest of the staff. In fact, there's my grandparents right there. That's my dad. That's my mom. And yes, she's holding me. 6 months old to the day of that day. When the new building was built, that's what it looked like back in 1967. This is what it looks like today. And now you know why we're in the book. So, here's what needs to happen. I'm going to give you those worksheets. I've got enough for every table. It's going to be a little bit different because you're in groups. But I don't know if you have chosen who your CEO is of your group. But I would take a really good look at their values, because that's the values the person in charge is going to have that the rest of the company is going to share. Find out what those values are. Work yourself through these worksheets. When your values are clear to you, the cool thing is every single decision you make falls into those values. Staff comes to me and they say, hey Phil, we got an idea, we want to do this. I said, well, is it having fun? Is it helpful? Is it educational? Is it nostalgic? Does it make people smile? If the answer is no, we don't do it. If the answer is yes, we do it. Every single part of your business is based on these core values. In fact, when I learned this, first thing I did, I came into the store early in the morning, I'm there in the office, and the answer machine goes off. The answer machine back then was pretty simple, said, thank you for calling the Toy House. Our hours are Monday through Thursday, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Sunday, 12 to 4. If you have any questions, call us over here, we'll be happy to answer. Blah. Right? That's not about having fun or being helpful. Well, a little bit helpful tells us when we're here. Now, if you call the store before we're open, thank you for calling the Toy House. We're here to make you smile. Well, we're not here right now, but we will be here Monday through Thursday. See the difference? A small little tweak, but now I'm showing my values. Having a little fun. Not taking things too seriously. When you know your values, that's when your business grows. Because you know who your customers are, the people who share your values. So, philsforum.com has a little section called the freebies. You'll have a computer, you'll have internet access if you want to read more. You can read the Understanding Your Brand freebie in there. You can also download this list that I'm going to give you right now at any other time if you feel you want to use this, because I'm going to tell you something really cool. This doesn't just work in this room. This is going to work next year in school. This is going to work when you go off to college. In fact, I'm making my son, who is just finished his sophomore year at Jackson High, I made him go through this so he would know what his values were. So when he starts choosing the college where he's going to go, he's going to choose the college that's a right fit. He's going to find the college or university that shares what? His values. It works. When he goes off to business, he'll know exactly what he's looking for. He's going to find the company that fits his values. It's not just the company's values fitting you, you have to fit them. And when you know what your values are, you're going to make a better choice for your own lives and your own careers. So that's what we're going to do. Your assignment is to come up with the 3 to 4 values that are going to guide your business. I'll give you a few of these for each table here. This is my worksheet that I use with my individual businesses. You're going to have to play around with it a little bit to see how it's going to work for you. But I want you to come up with the 3 to 4 values, the ones that are going to guide your business.
I would all get into your actual business group.
Yes.
I don't know if you said that this morning, but that would be best. So just receipts, punch your table, whatever you need to.
Yep. And I'm going to hang around for the rest of the morning to help you with any questions that you have. You say, hey, Bill?
Did you like the picture with the cat?
What?
Did you see the picture with the cat and the kid looking at the fish?
Oh, I missed it. Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that awesome?
The fact that there was a cat there was fun.